It is still a crazy real estate market out there. We talked to Heather Herr from Private Real Estate Collection, and she answers our questions about when you know it's a good time to buy your first home, all of the things you have to have in a row before you can do that, and we pick her brain about so much more. Heather, so many people feel a type of way in this chaotic real estate market right now.
Yes.
Let's just talk about the market in general.
Okay. Sure.
What's it like right now? What's it like for a first-time home buyer? A lot of people are scared of it, I would say.
Real estate is constantly changing. We are not in a recession. People like to talk about that, but I would say that right now we're in a market that's pretty typical of real estate, which is takes a little bit longer to sell a house, takes a little bit longer to buy a house.
What's some of the biggest questions you get?
All right, some of the questions are, do you think interest rates are going to go up more?
Okay, what's the answer to that?
I do actually think they will. I think they'll come back down, and I think you can refinance, and there's a lot of ways to deal with that, and there's great programs out there. I'm not a financial, lender, but we have great connections with them.
What makes Cincinnati different? Because obviously the tri-state area is, I've lived all over, but this area is very unique. I would say it's affordable, but it's still really competitive to try to get a home around here.
And I think people are coming here because it is affordable. However, with that being said, it's all about location. So when someone says, I want to spend this much money in this neighborhood, I sometimes have to educate them on location because it is not as cheap as people think in some areas. So
right. For like a regular person that's never owned a home before and wants to try to get one in this market, how do you know you're ready? How do you know you can even compete?
The very first point typically is like, can you afford to buy a home? Talking with your lender, figuring out what you have saved, what your financing is going to look like, getting pre-approved. And then from there, we can start the process of looking for a home. But that is the most important step for sure.
Yeah. What is the average price of a home right now in this area? Like 200
average sales
something?
price in Ohio is, I'd say anywhere between 250 and 350, and I'd have to check my stats. But I would say probably closer to the 300,000 mark is about average.
What do you have to be able to put down this day and age to, because there's a lot of cash offers out there these days, aren't there?
There's a lot. In fact, I had a property on the market this weekend that was close to 500,000, and we got 3 cash offers on it. You can buy a house for as little as, nothing down, 2% down, 1% down, 5%. There's programs for everyone. We have clients that use what they call FHA financing, so it's just 3% down. So that's actually that's a program that works for many people. And then, but some of our clients like to put 20% or more down.
Buying a house will be probably the biggest investment for most people. Do you find it overwhelming for a lot of people, like that they don't understand the process and that it's almost like, what do they call it, buyer's remorse? Like right before you're about to close, they're like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this?
Yeah, buying real estate is one of the biggest investments that you'll ever do in your life, and can be very stressful. I have found that even my 10th time home buyer sometimes needs education on the process, where a first-time home buyer sometimes watches more YouTube or other channels to kind of learn the process, and there's a lot of information out there. But I would say having a good real estate agent on your side is very important, because even if you've bought a house before, things change all the time,
Yeah. Is there a time where you're too young to buy a house, or like you shouldn't do that?
Absolutely not. In fact, I have started talking about it with my girls. My youngest daughter is 15 right now.
Okay.
And they are always thinking about how can we make money. And I keep saying to them, when I go to sell a house, or I tell them like how much money someone makes on a sale, and I don't share personal information, but just like, typical scenarios, they're really blown away by that.
Okay.
To realize that there's a lot of money that can be made in real estate by just having property. So yeah, I don't think it's too young. I mean, as soon as they can have enough money, I think it's time. But they have to be able to afford to pay for the house too. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
Real estate is never going to go away, as far as being one of the best investments. So they always have to somewhere to live. And renting, you're losing money renting is not always terrible. So if I know someone's only going to be somewhere for a year, it makes no sense for the most part.
That's what I want to ask you. How long do you have to be in a place for a home to be worth it?
That's a great question. I used to think it had to be at least a couple years, but I have recently seen a couple of our clients buy something and resell within a year and still make money.
Really? They didn't lose, because they didn't put a lot of equity into it, right?
They got lucky. If they could do minor repairs or things to get the house update a little, but you have to be very careful because you could lose money that way. Because when you go to resell, you have to pay taxes, prorated taxes. You also have to consider real estate fees and transfer tax and things like that. So I think you really need to come up with your own personal goals. Like, do I want to buy a property so that I can make money? Do I want to buy a property so I'm going to stay in it forever? Where do I want to be in 10 years? Like, do I want to have a family? Like, things like that. So my advice would be trying to understand. I mean, it's hard to do that. Like, I ask myself that, where am I going to be in a year? But really try to think about, where will I, be in 1 year? Where will I be in 2 years? And then making a decision based on that too. Like,
okay. So what if, just humor me here. What if you're not ready to buy a house? Like, you're not married, you don't have kids yet, but would you push someone to invest in real estate anyway? Is that a good way to spend your money right now?
I think that real estate is always the best investment. I think if you can afford it and you want to invest somewhere, I think it's the best way to invest. I really do.
I see a lot of people my age and younger right now, and especially in Cincinnati, because there are amazing properties that are maybe blighted right now. They're snatching up like multifamilies and kind of renovating it themselves, maybe living there, renting it out. What do you think about that?
So like flipping properties and stuff. I think that we get a lot of investors that want to work with us. I think they're hard to find. I think you have to constantly be looking, knowing your community. I like to believe that a real estate agent should be the mayor of their community. So knowing every single part of it. So where I live, I know if there are properties like that, and then I know who to call. I think investing can be tricky for a young person unless they have the money to do it.
Okay.
So knowing not to overpay, what to put into it, like how much money am I going to spend on this investment so that I can actually get the money back out of it.
Right. And do you have enough knowledge to do some of this stuff yourself?
Yes.
What do you think about empowering just other women to kind of step up, have their name on their deed, own their own property, that sort of thing?
I think it's very important that women always have their own identity in any relationship.
How do you know you have a good real estate agent? Because the real estate market, I feel like everyone I know is like, does real estate on the side, or like just passed their real estate or got their real estate license. How do you know you have a good one?
That's a good question. After COVID, I will believe that many of the agents have gotten out of the business. So the side agents are side agents because they can't really make a living just with that one thing. So
why has it changed so much? Just because people aren't fleeing the city as much for
I think
homeownership?
There were so many properties on the market and so many people looking, and so everybody was going to be a realtor at that time. And I think it's back to the part which is it's hard business. It's learning how to like educate yourself on the market and knowing how to properly market a brand, or a house as a brand,
Yeah. Give me a couple questions. Like, say I was going to interview a real estate agent.
Okay.
What are some maybe like 3 questions I should be asking them to make sure that I'm with the right person?
These are good questions, yeah. I would ask them if they have a support staff. Do they have a team? We call it a team, but it could be a support staff in-house. And then the other question would be, what areas do you serve? Do you serve just one neighborhood? Are you all over? And if that, and then how many homes have you sold in those areas too?
Yeah. I hear so many people say like, I'm going to wait till the prices come down.
Everyone.
That's a myth, isn't it? Are the prices ever coming down?
I feel like I'm a good example of that because I've been in my current home over 15 years now, and it's my second home in our neighborhood. And so I feel like I like to think about what would I do? And so I would say that you move when you're ready, and the prices and everything else always works itself out. So I do think that the prices have stabilized already, and I think that there is more movement in that. Prices are already coming down a little bit. Houses are on the market longer, a little bit longer, so people are more willing to make an offer.
Is it bad when a house is on the market for a long time? Does that really matter? Like, should that be a red flag for you if you like see this house and then you're like, wait, it's been on the market for a long time,
I think we're going to see more of that now.
Okay.
I think during COVID, that means there wasn't hardly any houses on the market very long, but it does usually mean that the price of the house was probably too high to begin with for the condition of the home. Everything sells at the right price.
Do you really need a real estate agent, or what do you think about private sales, or when people are like, okay, we're just going to do this ourselves?
I absolutely think you need a real estate agent. I think I have a lot of clients that say they're doing things on their own, and that's fine. Not a lot. I have a couple, but I would say that 9 times out of 10, if someone I know is like got their own thing going, it works out okay. But there's always a glitch in the system, and it doesn't always happen during the process. It could happen after. It could happen on their title. It could happen later when they go to resell. So having an agent really helps you with not only during the process, but the end process that also closes out your home.
Heather Herr, everyone, and you are everywhere. So tell us where people can find you, where they can contact you.
So my company is Private Real Estate Collection, and Team Herr is my company within that. I'm the founder and CEO of that company. And we are right now in Ohio, and my office is here at Fuel Collective.
Yeah.
And we're also in Kentucky, so we have an office there as well. And we will be going into Florida soon, and then eventually other places as well.
Very
So,
cool. Heather, thank you so
awesome.
much. Your advice
Thank
was so
you.
good. Appreciate you.
I appreciate it.
Local 12 has more consumer stories just like this. Don't forget to click the links and press subscribe.